Alright, you guys, I've got a game on the board. My opponent is R. Prabhakar from India, and he's played e5 against my e4, and we have a very quiet little Vienna. d6 on move 2. Haha, so I've brought out my bishop. This is a 15-minute game, no increment, so I'm going to play fairly rapidly and basically try not to lose. It's a rated game, so it's 214 for me. Well, d3 looks respectable. Knight f3 looks respectable. His issue is this bishop's has only got one square it can go to. So that's not great for black. I'm going to push d3, prepare to release that bishop. Of course, not to a light-coloured square, because that would be illegal. Now, he's playing quietly, isn't he? h6. Oh! Okay. 4 pawn moves. 4 pawn moves in the first 5 moves, eh? Right, so he has taken out the dark squares. So I've got this or this for my dark squared bishop. That's all good. I can also simply castle my king now. Do I want to commit to a side of the board? I'm not ready to commit yet, so let's play bishop e3. Because I don't know which way he's going. Okay, I'm not worried about this, this is fine. If he wants to take, I'll recapture with the g-pawn or with the queen. I'm going to move the queen and try and prompt him to destroy his bishop. So he's put 2 of his pawns, 3 of his pawns now onto dark squares. Okay, which makes this bishop better. Now, what's he trying to do here? Does he want to go in there? Because then my knight can't take, because pawn takes. Oh no, because then bishop takes, that's okay. Right, I'm going to kick. I'm going to kick the invading bishop, and I'm going to follow up. And what this does is this now traps the bishop, he's got nowhere to go. So, I'm happy about that. One idea is to put my rook here, and then push h4, h5, but the bishop does have a runaway. So, it can get away, and that would be too slow at this point in the game. So we want to keep up some momentum. Now, I have a backwards pawn here on f4, f2. So, one thought is, do I pivot my knight round here, or my knight to here, and then think about a pawn break, or should I put rooks behind my pawns before we do a pawn break? Okay. Just kind of deciding against that. I don't really want to prompt him to push b5 and start storming up there. So let's play. Is that just random? No, that's castle. Excuse me. Tickle in my throat. See, that's what I said he was going to do. And you said go and do it anyway. Anyway, so I'm going to put my bishop here and leave it out hanging for this guy. Because if he wants to, these pawns now are no threat to this bishop. This bishop isn't afraid to die. It's attacking this knight and the rook behind it as well. So black's got a couple of options. He either defends this, and how's he going to do that? Queen d7? I think that's his only option. Or king d7. Or he takes out the bishop. If he takes out the bishop, or he drops his rook and goes down the exchange. Okay. When you've used 1 minute of a 15-minute game, you shouldn't be doing that. But he knows he shouldn't be doing that. I don't need to tell him that. Okay. So we're up in some material. What's more, this queen side for black is a bit sparse. All his stuff is over on the king side. So, with that in mind, I'm kind of inclined to throw everything at the king. That seems to be the done thing right now. So, even something like g5 can really force the issue. If g5, I'm attacking that pawn and that knight. I've got a bishop and a queen defending it. I wouldn't like to be black right now. If pawn takes... Okay. So I'm just going to grab the pawn. I want to open things up. I want to open up lines. This is all good for me. All good. Right? I could even grab the knight. Grab the knight. What's going to take? Is rook going to take? Or do I come in with my knight? Or do I get my rooks here? Do I come in with this knight? Knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, pawn. Not great, but I have eliminated a knight. He can't castle, really, because this rook is required as the second defender of h6. So, Misa thinking this. Rook dg1. Now, that's not very threatening. That's a discovery by the queen, so if he pushes now... alright. Okay, do we have to worry? First rule, king safety. If I push b3, he pushes that. He takes, I take back. I'm fine. It's only a queen. It's a solo queen, and I've got all my bits around here. Right? They're not too far away to help the king out. If he pushes now, I just take it. This bishop, you see, is useless. It could come here and attack my knight, which is undefended. But then I might just leave my rook to g3, double up my rooks, and really cause him some trouble. But he's playing too quick. You see, this is something you find very, very often. If you look at the timings on black's moves, right? 1.2, 2 seconds, 8. So he doesn't take 10 seconds until move 11. Right? Now, if you think about it, 15-minute game, if you take 10 seconds per move, that's 15 times 6, that's 95 moves. Most games don't last 95 moves. Right? Very, very rare. So you should be taking at least 10 seconds per move on a 15-minute game. I've used 5 minutes, but it doesn't matter because I'm winning, right? There's no point playing fast and losing. How about this then? Yeah, let's just cause him trouble. Let's just be a pain. Also, I've just realised if the bishop retreats here, got takes. Pawn's going to take anyway. But if here he's got option of rook takes, okay, we kind of guessed that. So I was ready for this, and we're going to put the rook here. Dark square bishop can do nothing about it. Dark square bishop still hasn't developed. So it's all going absolutely Pete Tong, as they say. Bishop takes, I retake with a rook. When you're down in material, don't go swapping off bits. That's just dumb. Okay. So he's still down the exchange, which doesn't seem massive, but also he hasn't castled, he's not developed that bishop, he's not developed that rook, he's got no h-pawn. The queen's sitting over in the corner sucking her thumb, nothing going on. And now he's undeveloped his knight. So, major things. I've got a rook looking at f7. That's pretty cool. He's got a load of pawns on dark squares, and I only have a dark squared bishop. So that bishop is not particularly good. So there's part of me thinking about, like, what if I trashed my bishop? Could I sack my bishop? Like here, pawn takes, queen takes, or knight takes. There, pawn takes, queen takes. I've got queen and rook looking at there. What's he got? What's he going to do? Should we do it? Should we go? Nah. No. It would be remiss of me. It would be the wrong thing to start telling you guys to go sacking, unless it's an absolutely winning attack. So let's figure this out. Bishop there, pawn takes, queen takes, barrage against f7. He has knight there, he has knight there. Or he simply pushes the pawn. And then what have I got? Now if I was getting 2 pawns for my bishop, that would be something. But as things stand, nah. So, I think I want to... Okay, I need to keep defending that pawn. And I want to do something with... My queen needs to improve, right? So let's make some space. I'm going to creep this knight up towards the target, which is that black king that hasn't castled. And isn't about to anytime soon, because he's put all his pieces back in their starting blocks with the knight's retreat. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going straight in with that. 8 minutes on the clock. Don't need to think too hard. Now, key question. Take with the rook and maintain my pawns, which is kind of a plus. Or take with the pawn and open up lines. Can't take with the pawn because it hangs the rook. Well spotted, Hunty. Taking with a rook then. Well spotted. Getting good at not blundering. Don't ever say that on video. Don't ever say that. Because watch me blunder like next move. Okay. Bishop here. Bishop takes. I can't take with the pawn because rook takes with check and wins. Because the only thing I can do is block with a queen, right? However, bishop here, bishop takes, queen takes. That's nice. We like that. And black is in, you know, he's over the rack. He's on a spike now. With his undeveloped knight, his undeveloped rook. Bishop that's only got, it either swaps itself off or it goes back to its starting square yet again. If it takes, queen's coming in, attacking that undefended pawn. It's horrible. Okay, now queen takes is I think a no-brainer. Queen's now defending this pawn, rook's defending this pawn. Pawn is defended twice. Pawn is attacked once. So I could actually play rook g1. But I don't actually have to because I can go in and grab the pawn straight away. Now, I'm expecting then g6. Oh, that's interesting. Kind of dumb, but interesting. So I've got queen here, check, and then probably king f8. Or I've got queen there, attack the rook. If the rook moves, I get the knight. This is the point that you resign. Yeah. Sorry guys, I thought this was going to be a bit more instructive game, but when all this is over and the dust has settled, the shouting has died down, we'll go back to the start and we'll figure out what went wrong. Okay, there we go. So, right, what went wrong? And then we'll look at the game review, okay? So, First issue, I don't think this is book move, right? One of the problems is this dark squared bishop. And what did we learn about the dark squared bishop later in the game? Okay, point number 1. He's trapped in his own piece, right? On move 2 by playing this. Now, if he wants to bring out his bishop and then play that, that's a different matter. But let's pin a little flag on that bishop because it gets worse. So look, I now bring out my bishop, and this is the difference. Bring out the bishop first, right? Then he develops a knight, and then I push d3. And my bishop is outside of my light squared pawn chain. He's got a dark squared pawn chain, and his bishop is inside the pawn chain. Okay, now h6, and this is slow. It does nothing to help this bishop come out, right? The pawns that need to move to help this bishop come out are those. The pawns that need to move to let this bishop come out is either of those. So he's done the job required for the light squared bishop, but his dark squared bishop has a choice of 2 squares right now, which isn't very good. So this is too slow. Develop, okay? a6, too slow, does nothing to help development. This bishop can already get out anyway. So what's he doing? He's being far too conservative, trying to prevent my knights from coming up the board, right? And this is not the way to play chess, Right, now bishop e3. So you can see on move 6, I've moved 2 pawns and all 4 minor pieces are developed. Right, we're nearly done with development. All I've got to do is get my queen off the back rank and castle my king. Okay, we don't castle till move 10 though. Now out comes his one bishop that's got any mobility whatsoever. So I play queen d2, right? I've made 7 developing moves on 7 moves. Now he develops a knight, fair play. Okay. Now here, if I'd have castled, I've completed development on move 8, which is the quickest you can do. But I decided to try and prompt his bishop to take the knight. But he doesn't. He retreats, and I think, okay, let's go for the space. He's already been slow, okay, with these 1 square pawn moves. What that means is that he's kind of behind in development, obviously, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces developed to his 3. Right? So now is the time to play with tempo, grab some space. Bishop retreats. Now I castle. Okay, move 10. There we go. Now he comes after my bishop. I play bishop d5. And here, 27 seconds he takes, and then blunders by going down the exchange. Right? Now look, he's got pieces crowded round his king, actually in the way. He's got a huge space disadvantage, and his queen is out there solo on the queen side of the board. So now we strike. Now we go, okay, look, my king's safe. My king's safe, your king's not safe, you've been too slow. This is why we say it's a slow move, right? You've been too slow. I can now throw things at your position and bust it up. So knight retreats. Fine, grab a pawn. Knight grabs pawn. Now rook across. And that's not an attack really, is it? You know? Now my knight starts to improve. My knight's got ideas of coming up towards the king. Another pawn push, but again, it's just, you know, it's like hitting me with a feather. It's nothing. Now he thinks about improving his knight, and my pawn's coming up to harass the bishop, attacks the knight, and now I do 2 things at once, right? I'm thinking about the defense of the knight, which is important. I could simply have advanced the knight as well, quite easily, but I'm also thinking about doubling up my rooks. So we have takes, which is a mistake when you're already down in material. Okay, rook takes, no problem. Knight now retreats to its starting square, but my other knight now starts to improve. In comes the knight. Do you want to swap your knight off? Of course you do, right? Boom. Now let's trade bishops. Happy to do that. Queen takes, best move, and it's all over. So you can see how quickly it all fell apart. 26 moves, black resigns, and the reason he resigned is, I think you can see it here. Right? This is move 5. White has 1, 2, 3 pieces out on the board. Black has 1 piece out on the board and has wasted time by making little piddly pawn moves. And that's his problem. That's what he's done wrong here. Okay, so are you guilty of making little piddly pawn moves, right? You have to ask yourself, how much of a threat is the knight coming in here? Right? Unless he's just so timid, you know, that he can't handle the idea of being attacked. But in a way, by trying to avoid my early attacking ideas, or the possibility of early attacks, he's laid the foundations for much horribler attacks down the line. That's the problem, right? What he should be doing is trying to control the center of the board, trying to control squares in my half of the board, possibly, right? But bottom line, he should be getting his pieces out, right? And he's already in trouble here, I would say, at this point. So let's have a quick look at the game review. So end of move 5, my money is that white is +1 already, according to the computer. Let's see. In fact, white starts the game +1/2 anyway, because he's got the initiative. Okay, so not fantastic from me, 66.6. 54.5, I thought I was a lot more dominant than that, but let's see. Okay, so blah blah. Apparently book move. and I'm +3. That's excellent. The best move would have been probably knight f3. Yeah, wanted up knight f3. Okay, but bishop out, knight out. Pawn there. Excellent, one of the best moves, apparently. Knight here, and another excellent move. So it's actually got white +4 here. Sorry, plus 0.4. I'm surprised about that. I would have thought it would be more. Okay. So apparently I made a mistake. That's inaccuracy. Best. Knight there, mistake. Yeah. And that's a mistake. So this move might cause trouble. Best move here was rook across. Yeah. But, you know, I knew what I was doing. I had a plan. So ignore the engine a lot of the time. You should use the engine to show you your worst things. Now, I don't think that was a mistake. I really don't think that was a mistake. Okay. Computer says it was. But I knew I was creating a barrage. I had a strategic idea, and I was also working with psychology, which the engine can't understand either. So I don't think we really learned much from that. Maybe I could have centralized my rook or something before starting that offensive. But I wanted to keep the pressure on my opponent. The other thing that the engine doesn't understand as well is the clock. You have to, you know, human players, you can be using the clock against your opponent. So sometimes when you know you've got a move that you know is going to make him think, that you know is going to cause him a problem, and you can make that move quickly in confidence that it isn't a mistake, that can be the way to go. Right? Make your opponent use his own clock, not yours, to think sometimes. But, you know, here, this is the bizarre one because the guy's rushing his moves. He's used 1 minute and 10 seconds at this point, and he's already in a losing position. I mean, here I'm plus 1.7. Apparently, if I'd have moved this rook across instead, that would have been plus 3.4. And then maybe we could have gone in with that. You know, you remember I did mention it as well during the game. Said, should I be actually putting my rooks behind my pawns? But I just thought, no, sod it. Let's go for it. Let's go for the kill. And on this occasion, it paid off. So thank you to my opponent for the game. Thank you for watching. Do really appreciate your guys' support. And I'll see you soon.